This is Doc Malone, and you're on a trip with Penny Lane on Giant 96.
I would like to welcome one of my very favorite harmonica players from Bloomington, Indiana, Mr. Doc Malone. How are
Penny,
you?
how are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you.
It's great to see you.
So, we've talked many, many times, and I don't even remember the first time we met, but it was long ago. When did you first remember your first interest in music?
I have probably always been interested in music. As a child, I took guitar lessons and wanted to be a jazz guitar player. I played in seventh grade in a little band about the time the Beatles were becoming popular, and our band broke up when all three of us got hit by the same car going out to get ice cream after band practice.
Oh, wow. Wow. What was the name of your band?
We didn't have the name.
You didn't have a name?
It was the seventh grade band.
Right, exactly. Wow. So
we never played out, so we didn't need a name for our band.
You didn't need a name. But you were the guitar player then?
I was one of two.
One of two. In a jazz band. That's interesting.
Nope, it was rock and roll.
It was rock and roll. But you had an interest in jazz music.
That was my interest.
So from there, what happened? So this band broke up, and you were playing guitar?
Well, I kind of fancied myself a guitar player for a long time. Much longer than I should have fancied myself as a guitar player. And I found a harmonica that one of my older brothers left behind in the house before I left for college in the fall of '72, and I took that with me and started playing harmonica just on the side. I always thought guitar was what I was going to
Wow.
master, and harmonica kind of came along because it easily fit in the guitar case, and the more and more that I played with other people, the more and more I gravitated towards harmonica.
That's interesting. I never knew you played guitar before. People that are just joining us, we're talking to Doc Malone. Not only is he a pediatrician in Bloomington, he is also a very well-known harmonica player around the world. Plays with Big Bill Morganfield. How do you obviously you like it, but tell me from there, when you first started, you were playing harmonica a little bit when you were playing guitar. When did you finally decide you're going to go with the harmonica?
I was playing music with people who were pretty much into the folk scene initially, and we played fiddle music, old-time fiddle music, and I started learning fiddle tunes on harmonica. Old-timey music is the example of that most people would understand would be something like Turkey in the Straw, that type of music. We played at square dances and contra dances and played in our homes just for enjoyment, and learned to play a lot of different old-time country tunes and some Celtic music, and gradually gravitated into playing more and more Celtic music. After I moved to Bloomington, I was playing in a band called Langstrom's Pony up in Indianapolis that played contra dances, and playing at a Irish music session down in Bloomington at one of the Irish bars there. We'd play every Monday night, and I learned quite a bit. Down the street was the Bluebird nightclub, and on Monday nights, starting about the time we finished with our Celtic music, session was the All-Star Blues Jam. I had become exposed to blues a little bit through my playing with other people. There'd always, once or twice a night they'd break into a blues song and I'd play along with that. And I, before moving to Bloomington, would listen to Jay Zuchowski's Nothing But the Blues show on Saturday afternoons, and he introduced me via that show to a cat named Little Walter. Mm-hmm. And that was probably a life changer for me to hear that.
What did you like about Little Walter the very first time you heard him?
Little Walter had a very musical approach to playing harmonica as a lead instrument. It was not a wah-wah type of sound. It was notes and runs and the ability to use all of the tools that any harmonica player had used up through that time and incorporate that into a very modern sounding music.
So when you graduated high school, today you're a doctor, you're a pediatrician, did you know that was what you wanted to do, was become a doctor?
I had no idea.
Why'd you pick IU, Bloomington?
Well, basically I started college outside of Philadelphia. I changed my major every semester. Whatever I was taking, that's what I wanted to major in. And I took a year off to study jazz guitar down there, and took a job in a truck yard as a night watchman, and I could practice guitar all night. And did that for about a year. I worked 13-hour nights, and there was about an hour and a half commute each way, so I was literally just sleeping, commuting, and working. And then decided to go back to school. That I realized that was not a career choice for me. I met along the way a lot of really talented, really good musicians who had a shot at a career in music, and I didn't feel that I had a shot at a career in music. My parents were living in Indianapolis at the time, and I came back up and finished my undergrad at Butler University. First, not knowing what I was going to do, and then I was out again and worked in the restaurant business for a few years. And in my playing music as a sideline, I ran into people from IU Med Center, and they said, "Why don't you go back to school and be a doctor?" So I said, "Why not?" And so I went back to school and had 3 years to finish, and graduated with a degree in chemistry, and then started IU Med School. Continued playing music during there on the side, and that was all pretty much the old-timey country Celtic music. And then finished that, and after a year of practice in Indianapolis, moved down to Bloomington into medical practice there.
What do you love most about being a pediatrician?
Well, when I started medical school, I liked every discipline I was exposed to, medicine and surgery and neurosurgery, and you name it, I enjoyed it. But pediatrics was a joy. It was fun to go into the hospital every day and see families and see kids. Kids, even when they're sick, they still have the same kid spirit. They crack you up every day. They are funny to be around. They're They look up to you. They're affectionate. They're real. When they don't like you, they really don't like you. When they like you, they really like you.
Oh.
They remember you, and it's I knew immediately when I did that that's what I wanted to do.
What do you love most about playing music?
It's like for a musician, playing is like breathing. You have to do it. You can't not do it. To give you an example, down in Bloomington, a famous jazz harmonica player by the name of Toots Thielmans came to give a lecture to the music students. And myself and a couple of other harmonica players cornered him after the jazz students were done with him. We were standing out in the hallway. We were talking with him. And in a rehearsal room was a class going on, and he could hear these musicians working on their things in the classroom. And we were asking him questions about harmonica, and he became increasingly more distracted. His right hand kept finding its way to his left breast pocket where he had his harmonica, and he was fondling the harmonica as he was gradually walking backwards towards the classroom, never really excusing himself from the conversation, but he was drawn as if by the Pied Piper, and he just slipped away and slipped into the classroom, and I'm sure was totally entertaining to the students
wow,
there.
That's awesome.
A jazz giant, and he's just drawn as if by a muse.
Wow, that's neat.
So I think for musicians, they sort of can't not do it.
It's in your blood. That's neat. I like it, and I enjoyed that story too. Now, tell us about Cold Blue, which is a great name, by the way, for a doctor.
I was going out to music jams in Bloomington. That's more or less where I cut my teeth musically and learned to play amplified harmonica and learned to play to blues changes. And during one of the jams, somebody who I thought would be good to start a band with, there are actually several people who I thought would be good to start a band with, myself and a fellow named Jason Fickle, and there were two other members of the band at that time who were radiology techs who shot x-rays. And so, a medical name kind of was appropriate for that. We had one rehearsal, and I thought, oh, this is a band that can work. And so I went to try to get us a gig, and sat in a local tavern, and they had an open mic night, and I said, well, we'd like to play there and see. The winner of the open mic got a regular gig there. And for non-musicians, gigs are good for musicians, bad for frogs. And they said, well, what's the name of your band? And I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have a name for the band. So the first thing that popped into my head was Code Blue.
Then that was a good name. To come up with a band name spur of the moment like that, that's a hard thing to do.
I had to. If I wanted to get the gig,
right?
I had to have a name.
There it was, Cold Blue. I like it.
You're not a real band without a name.
Yeah. It even has the blues thing in it too.
Which we weren't. Our
right?
7th grade band never had a name because we never had a gig.
Sort of cool with harmonica, like the different sounds that you can make. Like besides the train, what are some other ones?
Well, the old style was the train imitations and what's called a fox chase, and those were, in an old time fox chase, you go out in the middle of the night and usually have some liquid refreshments and some hound dogs, and you send the hound dogs out, and you can tell kind of where the fox is by the sound of the dogs. and so in a fox chase they would imitate the running sounds, and there'd be a lot of barks and howls and hoots that would go along with the fox chase.
Now, tell everybody listening who Big Bill Morganfield is.
Big Bill Morganfield is the son of a gentleman named McKinley Morganfield, who recently would have celebrated his 100th anniversary. He was better known by his stage name of Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters wrote a song called Rolling Stone, and there's a band from England that was so impressed by his talent that they named themselves after that song, the Rolling Stones.
Wow, that's cool. That's
Muddy
neat.
Waters was probably the biggest name in blues, and certainly one of the fathers of amplified blues, who brought the Mississippi sound up to Chicago, where it was electrified and popularized.
When did you first meet Big Bill Morganfield?
Big Bill put out a CD called Rising Sun in 2010, summer of 2010, and many big-name blues artists now will travel by themselves and be backed up by local bands. And the band I was in at the time was in the running for backing him up. We had made contact with him, and he was planning on making a Midwest CD release tour in Louisville, Bloomington, and Chicago, and my band was slated to back him up. He ended up, since the CD was doing very well, he ended up wanting to go with the recording artists on the CD, but kept me along as the harmonica player for this local tour. And so we played at Stevie Ray's in Louisville, at Players Pub in Bloomington, Buddy Guy's in Chicago, and at the Key Palace Theater in Red Key, Indiana, and had a great time. Just had a lot of fun, and I had the band stay over at my house when we were in Bloomington, and that was Mookie Brill on bass and Chuck Cotton on drums and Clark Stern on keyboards. And we had a great time together. Put Bill on the plane back to Atlanta, where he is from, and got a call from him that evening after he arrived, and he asked me if I wanted to play any dates with him. And he said, "Look at my calendar. You can play any date you want." And I looked at it, and it looked like it was possible that if I used my vacation time wisely, I could pretty much play all of the dates. Notably on the schedule was a little tour of Europe, and so I said, "Well, I'll play all of them if that's okay." And so we have traveled since that time, and have gotten along real well, and have been to Europe and Australia and Canada and Alaska, and down through the South, East Coast, and California, and I have had a great time.